You would hope that in large organizations, it wouldn't take a crisis sometimes to really get everybody aligned and get things done.
Thanks so much for joining. Today, we've got somebody that should need no introduction, Sam Yen. He has been an oversized impact on user experience for enterprise, for human-centered innovation, and making enterprise software so easy to use. Sam Yen, thanks so much for joining us today.
How you doing, Sean? Thank you so much for inviting me. This is great.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks. This is really cool, and I love the opportunity to share some stories about how sometimes organizations are trying to make a change. Maybe they're responding to something, and there's maybe a little bit of an emergency or a fire drill or something that's just really urgent. They've got to fix it, and sometimes there's times where when you do that right, it can go on to become so much more and have so much more of an impact than was maybe imagined at that time. I'm hoping you've got a story that you could tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Sean, how about the Fiore story? You want
Awesome.
to story?
You're kind of the father of Fiore, so this
Well,
this
yeah.
this feels great.
Look, yeah. First of all, it's shocking to me. It's been 10 years already. Like, time's really flown by. And I'm no longer at SAP, but glad to hear that that's still going. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Fiore, yeah, over 10 years ago now. Um, I guess to the public just kind of came out of nowhere, and I think we announced it at Sapphire, to a lot of fanfare, and you know it was pretty blunt to us that user experience was something that needed a lot of improvement from an SAP perspective, right? I mean, this was something. Um, those of you that know the technology, from 10 years ago, and maybe there's still some clients that are using it right now, right? We're talking
Too
R3,
many.
what, 1990, mid 90s, that came out. Um, and there were just many attempts to improve the user experience over time, and some of it wasn't bad, if you go through the history of it. But the challenge was always the fact that there were so many clients that were using it, so many different screens, so many different versions, so many different customizations. It kind of took, in an emergency situation, and the full story is there was a lot of context to make like everything converge and make it all happen. So, as the story goes, one of our I'm not going to name any names, but one of our largest customers um, was really kind of at the point where user experience was just the most important thing for this CIO, because I don't want to say revolt, but the employees were just so fed up with how difficult it was to get things done, that those complaints were channeled to this CIO, and the CIO had an opportunity to talk to the senior management at SAP at the time during Sapphire, and really let them have it at the time, and they said, you've got a little bit of time to show us that you could do something differently. We tried. I think we put a whole bunch of teams together. It was like one of these swap team efforts, and people came, and it wasn't progressing super well. Um, I wasn't part of that team. I was part of like this little tiny innovation team in Palo Alto. SAP is based in Germany. I was like, not even like just in Palo Alto, but I was part of this thing called the App House, which had a different connotation than it does at this point. But
Yeah.
we were actually literally like off campus in a little kind of skunkworks site, um, and we were building. I don't know how many people know the story. Consumer apps for SAP. It was this thing. Hey, we're testing out the idea. What if we could actually make apps to help our customers customer at the time, and that would be consumer apps, and we would have to hire a whole bunch of new talent to be able to build these types of consumer applications. They would have to be mobile. They'd have to be super, super delightful. They'd be, simple to use. So we had this, 20, 30 person Skunkworks app house team. And we're literally building consumer apps that we're like putting on the App Store, and having a little bit of success doing that as well. So we were called in and said, hey, we were given an ultimatum at Sapphire. Our project's not going well. hop on a plane, literally hop on a plane. We're going. It was international for me, going to this headquarters, and you guys have a couple days to knock their socks off with a presentation, and this team really got together and just built a handful of small mobile first applications. Leveraging the fact that we had hired people from um, consumer app companies and gaming backgrounds and things like that. We built the first set of what became Fiori applications. Right, it wasn't called that at the time. The presentation went well, and we thought, okay, great. Now we could go back to Palo Alto and start building our consumer apps again. But this particular CIO didn't let us off the hook. He said, okay, great. You have 1 week to get what you showed me and make it live on my internal systems.
And go do it. Yeah.
Go do it, right? And it was
Nothing like a little pressure, right?
it was an amazing effort where the different teams from SAP, I was there pretty much together with the skeleton crew, but just phoning people over the weekends, and we got it done. Somehow we were able to get these small initial applications running on their internal landscape, going through all the different landscapes and pushed to production internally. And then we thought we were off the hook. And then they said, no, okay, now that it's working, we actually want, now you have 3 months to actually roll it out for our employees to use, right? So that was the initial wave. And because of that, I think the SAP board really saw some potential in that. And then we had, I think, another 6 to 9 months to kind of roll that out to Sapphire, and that was the original official Fiori launch as the public knew it.
That's awesome. The fire drill that turned into the new user experience for SAP across ideally almost all the products, right?
For some of us, it was the fire drill that we thought we were done, which we weren't done, and then it turned into a week, turned into 3 weeks, and then turned into 9 months. But yeah.
That fire drill that may never end. That's amazing, and it's still an ongoing journey from the thousands of screens to modernize. Yeah. Was it 300,000 or something? I think it's amazing, and then across all these other products, including other products that have since been bought and then being renovated to model after that same kind of design language. So I love the impact of the fire drill that it started to work and make a difference. And this idea of sometimes teams are brought to go and solve a problem, and when you do it really well, it can have this not just week-long, 2-week, month-long impact, but decade-long, multi-decades impact.
Yeah. And, I think, when I look back at it, it was really a lot of things coming together to make that happen, right? You would hope that in large organizations, it wouldn't take a crisis sometimes to really get everybody aligned and get things done. But sometimes, it was a crisis, and it just happened that there was this team on the other side of the world that was working on consumer applications. They had people that had that skill set to potentially bring that consumer experience to the enterprise. So yeah, the stars aligned for that particular project.
Oh, I love it. When you think about how that sort of initially small problem to solve that has this other impact over time, there's other impacts of, it's not quite the butterfly and the hurricane, but it's small decisions done well that pay massive dividends over time. Because as much as it's going to be probably decades before people say something different about the user experience on SAP as a general population, partly because they're still on a relatively ancient version. Some of them still running a version from 10 years ago easily, and even if they're running a newer version, they haven't necessarily taken advantage of the user experience that they own. But when you think about other examples in work or life where something small done well by a small team can have an outsized impact, we think about some of these leaders in organizations trying to go and make a change. Sometimes it's the stories of a small team done well that makes a huge difference, that makes a big difference over time for more people than they imagined. What advice would you have for people that want to be that leader right now?
Yeah. I mean, Sean, isn't that the hope that every single entrepreneur like yourself, would have, right? To be able to do something, to get a small, passionate a team, hardworking team together, and hopefully make disproportionate impact, based on kind of the work that you do. Um, I think it starts with that belief, right? That you've got a team together, um, and you have to have that belief and that motivation to want to make that impact, and you have to believe that you know um, the if you've heard me talk before, right? It's sometimes it's not about how you solve the problem, but finding the right problem to solve in the first place, right?
Yeah.
So like, I think that's really really so important. Finding the right problem to solve is like half the battle, right? Um, and then once you do that, because part of that is also, if you're finding the right problem to solve, you're finding a problem that has that potential that if you do it right, and sometimes you need a little bit of luck, a little bit of timing starts to align, but you have
Yeah.
to have that belief. If things come together, you're going to have, again, disproportionate impact based on the small team that's come together to do that. So I think having finding that right problem, getting that team with that belief, having that team with the spirit and the motivation that, look, if we do this right, we're going to make a huge impact on whatever part of business or society or whatever it is that you guys are looking for. And I think that was true, for that team, right? Because we were like like I said, in a little corner of Palo Alto.
Yeah.
But what we were doing was really solving kind of an issue, for SAP. Helping our clients better serve their clients.
Yeah.
That was a key kind of unmet need. Because we were focusing mostly just kind of at the direct relationship of helping the employees of our customers, but actually helping build solutions that could potentially touch our customer's customer. And then also, like, we spun out of the design group, so like user experience was always really important for us, and the opportunity to more directly say, hey, if we're doing this, that has the opportunity to really bring that consumer user experience, right? It's always like another level, than what enterprise experience was, but to be able to shoot above and beyond kind of the expectations what our clients have, and to go above and beyond to that consumer experience and bring that consumer experience back. You know, Again, we didn't imagine it would happen in this way, but we always thought that, hey, this is generally a good thing for SAP to have these kind of skill sets and to really benchmark ourselves not just on enterprise but consumer. I've always also said that, you know consumer is like, I never like, people ask me to predict the next 5 years, and I'm terrible at doing that. But like in the enterprise space, you get to cheat, right? Because you get to look at what's happening in the consumer world, and that's usually a leading indicator of what happens in the enterprise space. So yeah, like, I'm always kind of taking inspiration. Even now, kind of in my new job, I'm still in the business world as opposed to the consumer space. So the advantage of being able to kind of look at the consumer space for inspiration, and as a foreshadowing of what's going to come in the business world.
Yeah. Just making it enterprise ready. The range of scenarios you need to handle in the enterprise are a little broader than what you need for consumer.
Correct.
I love the problem to solve, and then the passion, the energy, the like the why.
Right.
And for me, I love this never-ending climb of just creating things that are better than they were a year ago, a decade ago, even yesterday, and
Yeah.
this unlocking potential. It's this thing that lights me up. And when I think about the thought process, the mindset of teams that have the outside impact, the outsized impact, they really they bring a what needs to be true to achieve X kind of an attitude. And that what would need to be true is such a beautiful question. Like, if this is the problem we're solving, what would need to be true for us to solve that? And when you can do that, and you can open up the doors a little bit to think a little differently, take a Palo Alto approach instead of a Waldorf approach, is
You said that. I didn't say that.
that's okay. That's okay. I'm just gonna say genau. For anyone out there listening that speaks a little bit of German, what I love about this is the way that you can kind of cross pollinate those ideas, right? And bring ideas from outside of the same room that's been trying to solve the problem, and then just sprinkle on a little bit of, hey, what are they doing over there? And
Yeah.
what let them do that?
Yeah. I will say something to follow up on what you're saying, right? I think it's really important. It's not the, especially within a large organization, we could do it better than you can within the same organization. But what I love about the overall design process is it's not about what team could do it better, but you're centered on who you're delivering for in the first place, right?
It
You're
comes from a place
centered,
of empathy.
yeah, like it doesn't, it's like we're locked in on who the customer and the client is, and
Yeah,
what we could do to allow them to do their jobs better.
yeah,
And it would be great if we could also create a delightful experience as we're helping them do their jobs better, right? I mean, that's the crux of it. If you frame it that way, then it's less about like who's doing it within the organization or how, but like you're focused on kind of what that goal is, right?
yeah. Solve for, right? It's the
Yeah,
how much value. It's like asking yourself the question every day, like how can I and my team and we create more value for our customers than anyone else in the world? It's such a powerful question.
yeah,
And when you bring that empathy to go help them,
yeah,
so many other things become clear, and the what would need to be true becomes easier to get to or get over if that's been hard in the past.
yeah.
I
And,
love
and, and
that.
what would need to be true? Like, I think we all also frame as, asking the, not just the why, but the why not question, right?
Yes,
And
yes. Oh, that's amazing.
yeah.
Any last thoughts, Sam, that you want to leave, a group of people in, procurement, supply chain, IT that are working in the SAP system or companies working in SAP? What would you hope to share with those leaders that want to make a difference?
Yeah, look, I would say a couple of the themes that we touched about, right? I think simplification, above all things, like why not? Why can't you think about, bringing things from your personal life and the ease of which, these days you could go online and buy things, and things kind of show up, and all the accounting is taken care of for you, and things like that. I understand. I'm not diminishing all the complexities of enterprise purchasing. I understand that, and there's a lot of things to go through, but you need that at least as a baseline for things like inspiration, right?
Yeah.
And even little things, right? Can you make it easier in the terminology that you use, right? And just get use your personal life and the things that you find joy in, the things that you find simple in your personal life as inspirations for how you bring things into the enterprise space. Like I've said forever, I always use Intuit as a great example in software, right? I mean, I only learned I should have connected the dots early. I didn't even realize, Intuit, is actually derived from the term intuition, right? So, it's that's just
Make it
built in
intuitive.
their DNA. It's built into the name of the company. But if they can make the tax process, so that most people could use it. Like, we have no excuse not to make enterprise software or the procurement process like easy for people to use, right?
Yeah, yeah. Intake management. It's a big one for us and our team.
Yeah.
So, Sam, thank you so very, very much for taking some time out of your schedule and sharing both a story that's memorable, impactful, and I know can help a lot of folks that are listening. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Great to talk to you.
Thanks so much, everyone. We'll see you next week.